The expectation of constant progress, we like to think of healing as a straight line. Like once you decide to get better, everything just steadily improves. It's like every day should be a little lighter, a little clearer, a little closer to peace. But healing doesn't work like that. It isn't neat. It isn't predictable. It's not a tidy curve upward. It's a messy, looping path with setbacks, plateaus, and sudden drops that feel like failure. We expect ourselves to grow like clockwork, to be stronger every week, to never cry over the same thing twice. As if our worth depends on how consistently okay we are. As if breaking down again means we're back at the beginning. We track our emotions like progress reports. I was fine yesterday, so why am I falling apart again today? We revisit, we refeel, we release, layer by layer. Progress isn't linear because pain isn't linear. But real healing doesn't follow a schedule. There are days you feel light, and then days where you can't even explain the weight. There are breakthroughs that feel permanent till the next wave hits. And that doesn't mean you're not healing. It means you're human. Psychologist Dr. Thema Bryant says, "We do not heal in a straight line. Grief moves in circles. Trauma echoes. Even joy can feel unfamiliar after years of surviving. We think I should be past this." We think I should be past this, but healing isn't about. And yet we shame ourselves when the old ache comes back. It's about staying with yourself, especially on the days when the progress disappears. You're just walking a spiral, not a straight line. I must not be trying hard enough. Maybe I'm not healing correctly. Maybe I'm just broken after all. You are not broken for circling back. Why we blame ourselves for slipping back? Healing is about how gently you return, not how perfectly you stay. There is a moment in every healing journey that hurts more than it should. The moment you realize you're re-struggling with something you thought you were past. Maybe it's an old anxiety creeping in. Maybe it's a familiar sadness returning without warning. The fact that you re-noticing it, the fact that you re-aware that S part of the healing too, and instead of responding with compassion, your first reaction is frustration. Why is this still happening? I thought I already worked through this. Because you don't have to keep getting better every day to be worthy of peace. We blame ourselves because we believe healing should be final, like crossing a finish line. Like once you've done enough therapy, had enough insight, said enough affirmations, you shouldn't feel that pain again. And when it does return, we don't just feel the hurt, we add shame on top of it. But pain doesn't care about timelines. Grief has its own rhythm. Memories resurface. Bodies remember. And healing isn't about erasing all your wounds. It's about learning how to stay soft with them, even when they reopen. Mental health advocate Young Pueblo wrote, "A relapse doesn't erase your progress. You didn't lose everything you've learned just because you're hurting again. We blame ourselves because we think healing should look like strength. But often it looks like honesty. Like saying, I'm struggling again, and that's okay. Like letting yourself be human instead of perfect. Some days healing is just choosing not to give up on yourself, even when it feels like you've slipped. The truth about setbacks aren't proof that you've failed. They're part of the process, not the opposite of healing. They're within it. But that's hard to remember when you're in the middle of one. When the feelings you thought you'd buried rise again, uninvited, when the progress you were proud of feels like it's slipping through your fingers, in those moments, it's easy to panic, easy to think, I'm back where I started, but you're not. You're just facing a different layer of the same wound. One that you couldn't access before. That's what real healing does. It brings you back to familiar places with new eyes. You're not repeating, you're deepening. Sometimes what looks like regression is actually expansion. You're feeling more, not less. You're noticing your patterns sooner. You're responding with more awareness, even if it doesn't feel like growth. Healing is quiet like that. It doesn't always announce itself. It hides in the way you pause before reacting. In the way you come back to yourself a little faster each time. Therapist Whitney Goodman writes, "Progress isn't measured by how many good days you have in a row. It's measured by how you treat yourself on the hard days." And that's the truth. The way you hold yourself in the setback matters more than how fast you bounce back. Setbacks don't erase your healing. They reveal it. They show you what still needs care. They give you a chance to practice gentleness again and again. Because healing isn't about never falling. It's about learning how to fall softer each time and still believe in your return. So if you're in a setback right now, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're in it. You're doing the real work. And that's more than enough. What healing really looks like, healing doesn't always look like sunlight and smiles. Sometimes it looks like sitting in silence and letting yourself cry without rushing it away. Sometimes it's making a different choice, even if it's just once. Sometimes it's showing up for your life while still feeling unsure if you're strong enough to carry it.
8.
It's easy to imagine healing as a grand transformation. Like one day you'll wake up with clarity, peace, and complete forgiveness. But real healing is quieter than that. It's slow. It's inconsistent. It's choosing to keep going, even when nothing feels fixed yet. It's learning how to hold your pain without letting it define you. Healing looks like saying no when you used to say yes. It looks like resting without guilt. It looks like telling someone, I need help, and not hating yourself for it. It looks like relapsing and reaching out instead of shutting down. It looks like trusting that not every good thing will be taken from you. As writer Alex L. says, healing is in the little moments. The choice to breathe, to stay, to soften. That's the truth we often forget. That small choices are sacred. That surviving quietly is still survival. That it doesn't have to be beautiful to be real. Healing looks different on everyone. For some, it's leaving a place. For others, it's staying and seeing it differently. It's not always linear. It's not always visible. But it's always valid. You don't need to be blooming to be healing. You don't need to be better to be enough. You're not back at the beginning. It can feel discouraging. That moment when old wounds resurface, when familiar emotions flood back in, and you think, how am I here again? It's tempting to believe all your progress has disappeared. That everything you've done to heal was temporary. You've lost ground. But you haven't. You are not back at the beginning. What's happening isn't a reset. It's a return. With more awareness, more tools, more capacity, you're not the same person you were the last time this pain showed up. Now you recognize it faster. Now you know how to breathe through it. Now you speak to yourself with more kindness, even if it still hurts. Healing often circles back to the same themes, same insecurities, the same stories, the same fears. But each time, you meet them from a new place. That's not failure. That's depth. That's integration. It means the work is sinking in, layer by layer. Writer Morgan Harper Nichols says you are not starting over. You are starting from experience. That changes everything. You're not empty. You're not erased. You carry everything you've learned, even when it doesn't feel like it in the moment. You've survived more than once. You've returned to yourself before. And you can again. So the next time you feel like you've slipped, try to remember. Slipping is not the same as forgetting. Struggling is not the same as losing. You've already come so far. And this moment is just one turn in a much bigger journey. You're not failing. You're deepening. You're still moving. Just not in a straight line. A new way to measure growth. What if progress wasn't measured by how quickly you moved on, but by how gently you stayed with yourself while you were still hurting? What if healing wasn't about becoming someone new, but about finally allowing all the parts of you to exist without shame? We spend so much time trying to get better that we forget to ask, better by whose standard? Faster according to what clock? We compare our recovery to others or to some idealized version of ourselves. One that never struggles, never stumbles, never feels like giving up. But that version isn't real. And measuring yourself against it will only make you feel like you're falling behind. Real growth is softer than that. It's in how you speak to yourself on bad days. It's in how you breathe through the spiral. It's in choosing not to numb your feelings. It's in setting boundaries you once felt guilty for. It's in letting go, not of the pain, but of the pressure to pretend you're not feeling it. As therapist Dr. Nicole LePera says, the way you speak to yourself becomes your inner world. And that world needs to be safe, especially when everything else feels uncertain. So here's a new way to measure healing. Ask yourself not, am I better yet? But am I being kind to myself in this moment? Not have I moved on? But can I sit with what's here without turning away? If you can answer yes, even just a little, then you're healing. Even if you still cry, even if you still struggle, even if nothing looks different on the outside. Because healing isn't a race. It's a relationship with yourself, with your pain, with your hope. And that relationship deserves patience.